In this video you'll see how incredibly simple it is to create layouts for your application with the ADT plugin in Eclipse. As you can see, I've already opened main.xml, the layout file that has been automatically created by the wizard for me. Before we look at the layout, let's have a quick look at the UI. This graphical layout panel shows me a static view of how this activity on a device or emulator. In this case, specifically, it shows me how it would look like on a 2.7-inch device with a quarter VGA resolution. The field on the left-hand side of the graphical layout panel lists all sorts of views I could use, and also layouts, which I could also use in my layout. On the right-hand side, I see a panel called Task List and a panel called Outline. This is indeed the outline of this layout file. If, for example, I click on Linear Layout, I should see something regarding this layout. If I click on Text View, you see this text view selected. But since I also want to look at properties of these layouts and text views, I'll tweak the perspective a little. I won't need the panel task list, so I'll deactivate it by clicking on the X. Next, I'll bring up the Properties panel. Now be careful here, because in Eclipse, panels are called view, which means something different in Android. So I go on referring to the views in Eclipse as panels. And if I speak of views, I'm referring to layout elements in Android. So back to the Properties panel. In the menu Window Show View, I select Other. On the General, I find the entry Properties, click on it, click OK. This will usually be shown at the bottom of the UI, but I want it on the right-hand side below the outline. First, I'll make the columns a little narrower, like this. And then I drag the panel over below the outline view, like this. I make this a little wider. And now I can have a look at the properties of this text view. The properties, the category deprecated can be ignored. One thing each layout and view must define is the layout height as well as the layout width. What do those values mean? The value of wrap content means that this view will be just high enough for its content. The other two values for layout height or layout width are, as you can see, match parent or fill parent. They both actually mean the same. Fill parent is for Android versions below 2.2, but will still work up to our maximum API level. So we use fill parent whenever we want a layout or view to span the whole area. As you can see, these properties of the category MISC mainly refer to the layout. The category text view contains properties for this specific kind of view. For example, the text. There it is. Now let's click on the column value at the property text and enter DT-4000. Let's give this text a color. You can define the text just like you would do in CSS. #FFF for white. We'll make it a little larger. Let's use 36 DIP, which stands for Density Independent Pixels, which simply means that Android tries to maintain the size of the text independent of the devices or emulators' display density. If I want to make this text bold, I can click on Text Style. I'll see this button with the ellipsis. I click on it, and here I can choose Bold, like this. If I want the text of this text view to align on the right side, I look for the property Gravity, and here I can select predefined values again, like right. I could also say right and center vertical at the same time, which makes no difference in this case, but it's supposed to show you that you can select multiple values at once. And all the text is flush right. As you can see, it's that simple to modify this text without writing a single line of code. Now let's try to lay the foundation of the layout of this DT-4000. Let's quickly analyze this. We have a title area here, an orange bar underneath. This area is divided into two columns, and in the left column there are 3 buttons and some orange elements underneath. In the right column there's some text and again some orange element. I'll change the size of the Eclipse window a little, like this, so you can see our layout. I collapsed the Package Explorer to have a little more room, like this. Okay, now let's have a look. as you can see, the root element of this layout is already a linear layout, which means the layouts or views contained in this layout are placed next to each other or above and below each other. If you look at the properties, you'll find a property named orientation. And indeed, for this linear layout, the orientation is set to vertical, which is exactly what we need here. So we have one element, another element, and a third element. The first element we already have. The orange element could be something as simple as a view. So we pick a view from the palette and simply drag it into the graphical layout view. As you can see, this fills the remainder of the screen. Let's have a look at the MISC properties. So let's give this another value. I'll enter 16 density independent pixels, like this. And to make this orange, I'll look for the property background and enter hash F90. So far for this. For this 2-column layout, I'll need another linear layout. Let's find the linear layout in the palette. Here it is. And just drop it underneath the orange bar. This layout I want indeed to span the remainder of the screen. So I'll scroll down the property list and look for a property named layout weight in the MISC category. Here enter the value 1. And this will sort of raise the importance of this view or layout, so it fills the remainder of the screen. As you can see, this newly dropped linear layout has no orientation. In this case, it isn't needed because the default orientation is horizontal. Just what we need. And if we want in the left column 3 buttons to be placed underneath each other, you guessed it, we'll have to drop another linear layout within this layout. There it is. This linear layout will be orientated vertically again. So let's set this to an explicit width as well. Let's take 96 dip. And now we can drop 3 buttons into this linear layout. 1, 2, 3, and another view element, which is orange, and takes up the remainder of the screen. We tweak the buttons a little, so that they too will stretch. Let's go for MISC, layout width, and say fill parents. Again, and select fill parent. The same with this button, fill parent, this button, fill parent. For the right column, we take yet another linear layout, drop it in here, with, again, fill parent, and here as well, orientation vertical. Let's drop 2 text views in here. Here in the palette, the category views, text view, 1, 2. You can already guess that layout width and height are both set to wrap content. So what you want to do if you want this text view to align to the right, that's different to what we had before. Gravity aligns the content of a view. To align the view itself, we have to select the view and look for the property layout gravity. Now the rest is the same as before. I click on the ellipsis, right, OK, and there it's on the right side, here as well. Layout gravity, right, OK. And now we can change the text. So it reads heading in this case, and body in that case. Let's emphasize the heading by giving it a larger size. 24 dip, for example, and make it bold, just like this. Okay, 24 is a little strong. Let's pick 16. So let's have a look. I collapse this panel. What will we insert for this orange element? Yes, you've already guessed it. We take another view and drop it in there. And again, height 16 density independent pixels. Background orange. So how do we get this bottom? If you think layout gravity, bottom will cut it. That's not the case, because it will just take bottom of this part But you already know how to extend this body text view. The layout weight of 1. As you can see, with a few simple steps and a little tweaking of the properties, we have composed quite an impressive layout.